G'day YouTube, got another little video here today, and we're riding down towards the Snowy River. So mate's property. At the moment we're just following some little wallaby tracks. Wallaby's a small kangaroo. We'll descend down to the river valley soon. There's lots of rocks on this property once we get going, and it's quite steep too. The bush isn't amazingly thick by Australian standards. It's sort of scrub. The soil, I suppose, isn't amazingly good as well. So we're just starting the descent now, and you'll see most of the pros, Graham and Mario, people like that. In the really steep descents, they'll roll down in neutral. That gives you one less thing to think about, so you don't have to worry about the clutch or the bike stalling. Now I did a lot of mountain biking in the 90s, so I can descend reasonably well. I've just given Craig a little bit of a gap here. You don't want to come at somebody with too much momentum that you can't stop, especially if it's not a race. You know, I'm not trying to overtake him. Very loose, very steep actually. Of course the video doesn't do it justice. Loose rock everywhere. You see Craig's doing a bit of scootering there just to traverse across that little section. When we get down the bottom, there's more rock, of course, sand. It's quite a, like I said, steep little property. The weather was quite cool today. It was about 12 degrees Celsius, but you know, you more than make up enough heat when you're riding. That gives you a view down the valley. It gets steep over that side. This little section, when we come up, it's quite hard. There's a diagonal sloping rock, little gully onto the top side of the gully. Across there's a step up there, a couple of little rocks. You see Craig got booked by hidden treasure buried in the bush. As I mentioned before, we're trying to ride this in, so not very defined. Craig rides it a fair bit, so he knows where he's going, but still lots of hidden treasure. We got everything from, you know, cricket ball, baseball, softball, basketball, football size rocks. Here I landed the front wheel on a rock in the creek, just so I wasn't sure how soft that would be. So I figured that I'd have much more advantage that if I landed on the rock, that front wheel wouldn't go down to its axle. So I just sort of popped over those three logs. That was relatively easy. Coming up here, there's sort of a little slab rock and then a tree down behind it. So what I've done is use the suspension rebound to kick the front up, and then that allows me to loft the whole bike horizontally off it without hitting the tree on the other side of it. Now I actually crashed on this rock slab. I'll do another video with all my crashes at some point. Oh sorry, not quite yet. This next rock. I actually did a hand pad to a complete backflip, landed flat on my back in the water. It's quite an exciting little crash. So we're down here in the river valley proper. Again, we're packing sand. Poor little trail dog sort of balks me a little bit here. He's pretty good, he stays out of your road most of the time, but just slowed down enough that I got hung up. You know, if you get hung up on these rocks, you know, if they're a perfect wheelbase apart, very hard to get going, of course. Little jump here that I tried to jump to flat. I wasn't sure exactly where Craig went here. I found this trail in the sand, so I got back on it again. There's a nice little fast section down here that I haven't included in this video. We're back into the secondary river again. We're going upstream here. Again, the rocks are sort of hard, you know, you want to keep a reasonable amount of momentum. You don't want to go berserk, because if you happen to hit one poorly, then you know it can throw you off completely. A couple of little logs here, sort of 100, 200 mil diameter. The bike has no trouble at all. So I try to hit them with full weight on the pegs and a driving throttle, and that helps stop the back from bouncing up and kicking the arse. Now I didn't have very much momentum through that little slabby section there. It's off camber and about 3 or 4 feet above the river, and I hadn't ridden it before, and I was, you know, sort of discretion is the better part of valor a little bit. Now Craig actually gets hung up on this little section. So the left foot peg is on the rock, and you'll see it forces him to overbalance in a second here. You know, a little bit of momentum, and then the foot pegs, you know, the bike's mass can upset your stability very easily. Yeah, Craig has a little bit of trouble just here. He sort of, you know, it's soft. The wood hadn't been turned over for a while. I wasn't going to go and get into it. I was thinking about going to the right and across that fallen tree and just going around him, but I thought I'd just wait. He invited me to his property.
No, I reckon it's better in that.
I don't have very many people to ride with, so a fair bit of the time, so it's nice to have somebody to ride with, especially somebody that enjoys this sort of stuff. And it's a nice property to ride on too. So there's a little cleft beside the big rock, just on the right there. I come up to it with next to no speed, and the bike's got very good low end torque and good drive. The bike climbs straight up it, feet on the pegs, no problem. I've been very impressed with the bike. The bike's it's low speed, this sort of stuff. It's incredibly good. Yeah, ego is always easy to say whatever I bought is the best, because of course you made the decision to buy it, you know. But been very happy with the bike. The bike has got excellent low chug. The suspension's very good. Quite happy with it. The goal of the bike was for this sort of harder stuff, although, you know, Jarvis or Mario wouldn't find this very challenging. You know, like that rock is, you know, calf height. This is the first time I'd been up here, not sure where to go, so I give Craig a little bit of room, so I've got an idea. You can tell here that trying to use very low revs and just walk the bike up, minimum of wheel spin. I paused in the gully here to wait for Craig to go up the next section as well. I've had this tyre on since new. It would be lucky to have, you know, 8 to 10 mils or 3/8 of an inch or less tread left on it. I've got a mousse in it now. I punctured it, so I put a mousse in. The front tyre's new. The front tyres are a mid-fat Michelin. So far that tyre's proved to be pretty good, but I haven't had it on very long.
Gentle little low
I've got a golden just because that seems to be the tyre of choice these days for this sort of hard stuff. They're probably quite soft, but if it gives me more grip, that will be worth it. Wait for Craig to move. There's a diagonal rock up here that's about 30 degrees. I don't carry enough momentum to get up on it, and I should have just been able to load. You can see the stick in the radiator shroud. Then I should have had enough drive to load the bike up and walk it across, but the front got hung up on a rock, and then the rear wheel tracked down off the rock. So I stepped off and motor walked it through that section. Even this next rock is like calf to knee height. It takes a fair bit of commitment to get up that sort of stuff. You know, you can easily get halfway up it and topple over. Here I'm just trying to use the torque, low revs, no wheel spin, just to position the bike around. I've had a sore back the last couple of 3 weeks that I'm not sure what's from, and by the second lap I had less power in my legs, and I wasn't using my foot pegs very well either. We've got a little climb here in a little gully in a minute. Craig goes, I used to have a traverse track across here above the river, do you want to go and have a look? I said, sure. Craig paddled up it,
Okay.
but got up it quite nicely. About where that tree is, the track went
Yeah.
a little bit left. It's just an animal footpad at this stage, not a real track. And I got to about the tree quite well, but after that I was in the scrub and overbalanced. You can see Craig's just, any little rock can just stop you instantly. I said to myself, no dabs, and I managed to get up through the hard section with no dabs, but then you'll see in a minute.
No dabs, Philip, no dabs. Yeah, slip one up there anyway. Made it up there.